Welcome to the My Mind is a Weapon podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. Sleezball here, your host of My Mind is a Weapon fantasy football show. This is episode 7 of the podcast. This is going to be my top 10 league winners, guys, that you should be drafting at your ADP this season to help you dominate your fantasy football leagues. And before we dive into it, guys, we are live on YouTube also, so make sure you like and subscribe. All the support's appreciated. I'll be trying to bring you the best fantasy football content to help you win your leagues this season. And let's get it crack-a-lack-a-lackin'. Let's start into it here, boys. The first player I want to talk about here is the rookie phenom selected by the Washington Commanders with the second overall pick out of LSU, and that is Jaden Daniels. He is currently going off the board at ADP 100, which if you play in a 12-man league is the 9th or the 10th round, which is absolutely bonkers value to me with his rushing upside. Now, in college, this guy had 50 total touchdowns in his last season at LSU. Think about that for a minute. 50 total TDs, 4,964 yards in the SEC, 3,812 passing yards, 40 pass TDs, 186 rush attempts, 1,134 rush yards, and 10 TDs. Now, you're going to be going to the Commanders. They're not going to be in full rebuild mode like people think, getting the second pick. They have a lot of weapons around them. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, one of the best route runners who last season was a full-blown reception perception green chart, but somehow Sam Howell throwing all the balls he didn't get open. I don't see that happening this year. I have a big breakout for Jahan Dotson coming this year. Zach Ertz, the 36-year-old tight end, is going to help lean into their new Ben Sinnott rookie piece they have, show him the ropes, lead him in, and also he's a major injury risk as well. So if anything happens to Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott is going to shoot up my boards like crazy. They bring in the veteran Austin Eckler, who was hampered all last year. He's going to be healthy this year to go along with Brian Robinson. Is probably going to get the goal line work. The problem here is the only worry I have about the Commanders is their offensive line. It ranks at 27th according to PFF, Pro Football Focus. Shout out to all they do and all the work they do. It's amazing. I love using their content to help everything I do in fantasy football as well. And he's going to be running a lot out of the pocket. You know, the offensive line is going to collapse. I don't want him to take too many hits. He is a small frame. I have him currently ranked as my QB 12 overall, and I'm just enamored. It's going to keep going up and up and up, possibly as the season draws here. Every offseason talk is that he's absolutely thriving. I know they're splitting reps right now in camp. That's not going to be a problem coming into game day. He will be the starter. And also, there's this looming trade alert. What if Brandon Ayuk ends up at the Commanders? Say they send Terry McLaurin in the third, or Terry in the second, or package Jahan Dotson or something like that in the first. I mean, oh my God, give him another elite weapon. This is going to be a phenomenal rookie year. And all these traits right here, even before draft day, are the reasons I had him above Caleb Williams. And I love Jaden Daniels so much this year. The second player that I cannot stop drafting no matter what is Alvin Kamara. Now, we're going to first talk about here, they get Clint Kubiak to come in as their new OC, coming from the Shanahan system. You just saw what Christian McCaffrey did last year with 350-plus points and 0.5 PPR. Alvin Kamara last season had a 4-game suspension, and the guy was still number 3 overall in points per game, and he's going off the board as running back 17 this year at ADP 74. Make that make sense to me in any way, shape, or form. I do not get it. I am even happy and willing to draft Alvin Kamara in the late third, early third round. I think his value is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Now, their offensive line ranks last, which shown last season by his rushing yards per carry was near the bottom of the league. It was very, very bad. He only had 180 rush attempts for 694 yards and 5 TDs, right? But where does Alvin Kamara make his gold? In the pass game. And when you have a weak offensive line and Derek Carr loves to check it down, what do? They pass the ball. So last year he had 75 receptions, missing 4 games. So if you total out those 4 games, you know he's going to have 100 receptions, right? 466 yards last year, only 1 TD. He only found the end zone 6 times. Very, very bad in the touchdown form. It is kind of worrisome now, especially with the Kendre Miller hammy news coming out of camp, which really looks bad again for him, which is not going to bode well for his career. You even got Dennis Allen kind of being, I'm going to say, kind of an asshole coach, calling him out, saying you got to be healthy in the locker room, you got to have the field and play. Now, Jamal Williams might take those goal line carries. You might see Taysom Hill Joker package in, but the usage of Alvin Kamara he's not getting his contract, right? So he's playing for a lot this season. This is going to be an absolute AK-41 smash season, and I cannot believe where he's being drafted. It's just absolutely mind-blowing to me. I'm taking this man any and everywhere I possibly can in fantasy football this season, and you should too. Number 3, and honestly, my favorite tight end to draft this year at value in the middle of drafts is Evan Ingram. Coming off the board right now around round 7, which means I can fill my roster because I like to take quarterbacks late with 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, or, mix match them however you want to make the best route to start. And then you have the availability to get the tight end 2 overall last season. Tight end 2 overall. And then he's going off the board as tight end 7. This is another one of those Alvin Kamara things. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They lose Calvin Ridley. They bring in Brian Thomas Jr. Don't let the hype of a rookie get you over a veteran who almost just broke the tight end reception record last season. And I'm calling it now that he is going to break the NFL record for tight ends in receptions this season, which is 116 set by Zach Ertz. Evan Ingram is going to own that record book this season. I promise you. Now, you got to also think that though they bring in Gabe Davis, Mr. Zero, Mr. Inconsistent, only a best ball player, really. You never really want this guy on your roster. Maybe he'll draw some defenders on, deep balls. That's about it. And you got to look at the fact that Trevor Lawrence was hampered all year off that ankle injury. And everyone's down on T-Law. There's a reason they gave this guy the massive $500 million contract he just got. The talent is there. Every piece they have is there right now. And it's just this whole offense is like an absolute steal to me in fantasy. And I'll get to the other players through other videos. But Evan Ingram right now, I'm absolutely enamored that his ADP is this low, that he's going in the Jake Ferguson range. When Jake Ferguson was tight end 9, this guy was tight end 2. I mean, Travis Kelce is aging. I'm so happy to take Evan Ingram over a lot of the big names, and it's going to help you win a fantasy championship this season as well. Sticking with tight ends here, my Atlanta. This is another one of my favorite picks to go along right behind Evan Ingram, right? So I obviously like Evan Ingram more than Jake Ferguson, who we're going to talk about right now. But Jake Ferguson, it just is scratching the surface of how good he really is. So last season he was tight end 8 overall. I got it wrong on the one. I said tight end 9. I didn't, I was close. 71 receptions, 760 yards, 5 TDs, right? But the main stat you have to love with Jake Ferguson is that he led all tight ends in red zone targets. And not only that, he was number 4 in the entire NFL in red zone targets. Amazing, amazing value in fantasy is made in the pay dirt areas. And there's no way that this man's going to have 5 TDs again, seeing 23 red zone targets. I expect this number to go way up. His ADP at the round of 91 right now is my second favorite value. I do love Evan Ingram more, but this right here is another way to build your roster for such good value that it's insane to me. You can even get the Dak and Ferguson stack later from round 7 to 9 and build your roster to start with at the beginning. But I'm going to get into the Cowboys here. Cowboys, they did lose 2 offensive linemen. Tyron Smith gone. The center is gone. They don't have a lot of money to help out right now. So what they're going to have to do here, they bring in Zeke, good pass blocker, right? To go along with Dowdle. Their run game is going to be really, really shaky. This is going to be a full-blown Dak Prescott. I could even see CeeDee Lamb getting 300 plus targets this season if he can get his contract figured out. Hopefully they get that taken care of. They still got to sign Dak as well too. I mean, this is going to be a full passing attack, guys. And Jake Ferguson is going to be the second option in a full-blown Dak Prescott-led offense where it's going to be balls to the walls passing. I'm telling you, you're not going to see a lot of Zeke or Dowdle really in this run game with this offensive line. And this value of him right here is 100% league-winning tight end value at where he's being picked this season. I have him as my tight end 6 to 7 range right now. He could crack the top 5. It's going to be very close. I like a lot of the top 5 tight ends, but Jake Ferguson is 100% one of my favorite values. Woo! Deontay Johnson is headed to the Carolina Panthers, going off the board at ADP 91, about late 7th, early 8th round, in my opinion, is the best steal in fantasy football from wide receivers from late round 7 to early round 8 on and the rest of drafts. And let me tell you why. So last season finished as wide receiver 43, 51 receptions, 717 yards, 5 TDs, hampered by injured quarterback play. Kenny Pickett was terrible. The Steelers were falling apart. Now he gets to go to Carolina. Dave Canales, the new head coach that is sent there, is the QB Whisperer, is his nickname. Last season was at the Bucs with Baker Mayfield, resurrected his career, got him a contract that he doesn't deserve, and I promise you he's not going to be the same this year. The year before that, quarterbacks coach for Seattle, Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith was a Pro Bowl candidate. Look what happened as soon as Dave Canales left there. Seattle looked in shambles last season. This man is going to turn this entire team around. He drafted all offensive weapons in the draft. He's going to have so many toys to play with. Now, you have to remember that Adam Thielen last season was a league winner at the beginning of the year, right? Now, enter a younger, faster, more athletic Deontay Johnson into his role, who we just saw in Coach Camp talk right now that Deontay Johnson is the focal point of this offense. Now, let's look back here. 2020, he had 144 targets. 2021, 169. 2022, 147. Last season, right, 87. Bad play. Now, I promise you he's going to see 150-plus targets. And this man is a route god. Look at his work right here from Matt Harmon and Reception Perception. I love the work they do over there. Shout out to them. Look at this. 57.9% 9-route green. Corner, 83.3% green. Out, 77.8% green. Every single thing on this chart is a plus green. This guy is unguardable. He is absolutely going to light it up this season and is 100% a player you should be targeting every single time you see him on your draft board. I'm even willing to jump up a round, possibly even 2 for this guy, especially if you're at a full point PPR, because this man is going to see so much work. It's going to be insane. Number 6 is my favorite to talk about. The player last year that blew up my fantasy football career of content, and it is Devon A. Kane. The hurricane season is here. I cannot wait to hear all the Raheem Mostert talk when this is over. But let's dive into everything here first. Current ADP 24, right? So you're thinking league winner, high draft pick, tough to debate on, right? But I'm calling right now, my boldest call of the fantasy football season is happening now, right here, live. Devon A. Kane plays 17 games healthy. He will be the running back 1 overall by a landslide. And let me break into why. These are 2023 notes to remember. And then I'm going to get into snap share. And then I'm going to get into categories here. And I'm going to show you everything of why this man is an absolute phenom. So, fantasy points per opportunity last season, number 1 in the NFL. Yards per touch last season, 7.7, number 1 in the NFL. Production premium as a running back, plus 27.1, number 1 in the NFL. Even run block rating, 118.0, number 1 in the NFL. Breakaway run rate, 12.6%, number 1 in the NFL. His very first NFL game, 56.3 points were scored in 0.5 PPR format. So if you even played in a higher one or different scoring, he probably got 60 to 70 in that league. First on the year, number 1 in the NFL for running backs and total points in a game. Scored 11 TDs in just 9 games. He was hampered by injuries. That ranked 9th in the NFL. Still top 10 production. Now he's bulked up. They say 10 to 15 pounds. The picture of him at the Miami Dolphins looks just jacked up. He's the Hulk of Kane season. He's ready to go. His juke rate is even 27.7%, the third hardest running back for a defender to tackle. That is 6 categories I just gave you that this guy is number 1 in the NFL app. And look at these numbers to go along with it. When he scored 56 points, he only played 41% snaps. Week 5, 29 points, 60% snaps. Week 6, 28.25 points, 48% snaps. Week 13, 29.55 points, 61% snaps. Week 17, 28.2 points, 48% snaps. He did all of this on the season with a 43% snap share. Now just imagine year 2. And Mike McDaniels is already talking about they're using him more in the pass game. He's going to see a lot more running back work. Raheem Mostert is 32 years old. He came off 21 touchdowns, which is a fluke of nature. He was the massive league winner for everyone and every single thing. Best ball, redraft, dynasty, everything. Do you think his laundry list of injuries throughout his career, with 14 injuries for Raheem Mostert career-wise, is going to hold up one more time here? I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's why they brought in Jalen Wright. And you're going to see Devon Achane go absolutely bonkers this year. And he is my number 1 must-target player in every single fantasy football draft. Number 7, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, and it is Ladd McConkey Tonk. Now, Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, his stats are going to look a little shaky, and it's going to be like, oh, why was he drafted so high? But let me explain this moment. He only had 30 receptions, 478 yards, and 2 TDs in his last year at Georgia. Brock Bowers was there, SEC run-heavy offense, bad quarterback play. Now you get Justin Herbert. So he's going off the board right now at ADP 98 to 100 range right now, which is absolute league-winning value steal wide receiver play. So now you have Keenan Allen headed to Chicago, Mike Williams headed to the Jets. Now you get Ladd McConkey already updated. He's going to be the starting slot wide receiver. Do you remember Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert's slot progression over his career? Keenan Allen was moved to the slot 7 years ago, playing 60% of his snaps from the slot. And ever since then, he's had 1,000 yards in every game, every season that he's played 15 games, and over 100 targets every season that he's played 15 games. He has had a couple injuries here and there. Now enter Ladd McConkey as a rookie into that situation. This is a bonkers value play. Now, there's going to be people that are going to tell you, oh, Jim Harbaugh is going to bring the Michigan run game to the LA Chargers. In order to have the ground and pound run game that they had at Michigan, they were up 20-plus points in college in 9 of their games. That means Blake Corum was pounding the rock. How many games do you really see the Chargers being up and pounding Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, and Kamani Vidal in? I don't see a lot. I'm going to say right now that Keenan Allen is going to be the rookie of the year. It is a very, very bold call at wide receiver because they always give it to quarterbacks no matter what. Probably going to be Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, one of them, but this is just a bold call again. And he's the best route runner in this class. You get a legit slot wide receiver with an amazing talent quarterback in Justin Herbert. He's going to see 100-plus targets, and he's going to feast. And his value is insane right now. Smash, 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 smash. Ladd McConkey in all your drafts, please. Number 8 is the scariest, sketchiest of them all. Deshaun Watson. Now, I know it comes down to his drive to playing football. Does he care anymore since getting his insanely crazy contract? But this man, if he comes back to any form this season, is going to be my favorite league-winning quarterback at value. And let me explain why. So he's going off the board right now at ADP 133, which is literally the 11th round. You can get a QB1 production quarterback in the 11th round that is bonkers. I know it's huge risk, huge reward, right? But here we go. Last season, only played 5 games, finished QB 35, 171 attempts, 1,115 yards, 7 touchdowns. But in those games he played, he averaged 18.1 points per game, which would have left him in a top 15 quarterback range. So why are you going off the board at QB 23 right now? Makes no absolute sense to me. He has everything in place for him. The Browns have the number 1 ranked defense according to PFF, which is going to get them the ball back more. They play in a ground and pound, cold weather division, Pittsburgh style football in Cleveland. You know, they're going to get the ball a lot more. The weapons around him, Nick Chubb could be expected sooner than later with his injury. He's on the PUP right now. Jerome Ford still looked good last year when he got the job, the stint that he played. Deontay Foreman, maybe the goal line back. You still have Amari Cooper, who's an elite wide receiver 1. They bring in Jerry Jeudy, who I really think this season will be helped by slot play. I don't think he's good on the outside. And then you have Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore, who will battle for the wide receiver 3 spot. David Njoku had a massive breakout last year with Joe Flacco. Now, when it comes to Njoku, it's very, very tough for me to decide if I think Njoku's going to get targets from Watson, because Watson in his career averages 4.2 targets to a tight end, which is not good for Njoku. I mean, last year with Joe Flacco, he was averaging 8 targets a game, which has made him a league winner down the stretch. But I mean, everything is here. It just matters to his drive. And you're seeing tweets now that he's engaged, which I don't think, that could happen every year. He's getting engaged. He's back. He's ready to play football. I hope he is, because he still has the rushing upside that is there. And this man can be an absolute league winner for you to build your roster around if he comes back to being Deshaun Watson, or even, like 80% Deshaun Watson. If he's back to 100% Deshaun Watson, like the Texans, you have an absolute league winner. Like, he'll be a top 5 quarterback. But that's the sketchy part of this. It's a risk I'm willing to take, and I love drafting Deshaun Watson this season late in drafts. Number 9 is James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this guy, you're going to get all this Trey Benson talk, kind of just like Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I don't buy any of it. If you paid attention to this rookie running back class, there's a reason there was no running back taken in the first round, and the second running back off the board had a torn ACL that was traded up for, okay? This is James Conner's backfield. I'm just going to put this out there now. Trey Benson is a good handcuff. Make sure you hear that again, handcuff. And yeah, is he a better talent than the running backs behind him last season? Of course, Marlon Mack, there's nothing there compared. So if James Conner gets hurt, I do think that Trey Benson, if he steps in for 2 or 3 games, will look a lot better than the running backs that were behind Conner to start, which could be scary if Conner gets hurt. But if James Conner does not get hurt this season, which he's averaged missing 4 games the past 2 years, which he might get nicked up here and there, but if he stays healthy, the current ADP of going off the board at 76 right now at running back 20 is insanity. You now have Kyler Murray back healthy. Kyler Murray wasn't back last year at all till week 10. Don't forget that. James Conner still balled out in those games. Now you get Marvin Harrison Jr., who can take the top off a defense, draw a double team. They can't stack the boxes. Trey McBride, who's my tight end 1 this season. This offense, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, all my breakout candidates as well. This offense is going to be flying around, and you get Cliff Kingsbury, who has now the offensive coordinator, and his offense for the past 5 years has been top 5 in neutral pace. They are going to be flying around. This is the number 1 offense I can't wait to see. He still finished at RB18 last year, still got 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, all with no quarterback play. You have to remember this. Kyler Murray came in late. Now you're going to give me a full, healthy Cardinals, and their defense is bad. So that means that they're going to be on the field more and more and more and more, and his volume is going to be through the goddamn roof. And I absolutely love smashing James Conner at value in drafts this season. Last but not least, player 10. We're going to dive a little deeper here, and it's going to be Dontavian Wicks. His current ADP is 163. Absolutely bonkers that you can get, in my opinion, the Green Bay Packers wide receiver 1 this season at this value. Now, you're going to be like, wide receiver 1, why? Let me tell you why here. Last season, if you took the eye test at all while watching this man play football in the limited snaps that he had. So last season, he was wide receiver 57, 39 receptions, 581 yards, 4 touchdowns. Limited work, right? Even in the playoffs, he saw a TD also, but we're not going to count those stats. Let me give you a key factor right here for Dontavian Wicks. When he played over 70% snaps, which was twice on the year, he averaged over 20-plus fantasy points in those games. In a game where he had 39%, 10 points. In a game where he had 33%, 12 points. In a game where he had 50%, 12 points. This man produces with such limited workload. And if you watch him run routes and beat man coverage, he is absolutely phenomenal at it. You're going to have Jaden Reed, who's going to be his competition, I firmly believe. A lot of people will tell you Christian Watson. I don't buy the hammy thing. I have tons of friends and I talk to a lot of football people with the hammy. That's always going to be hampering him. And that's, to me, a wasted draft pick that you don't want on your team. And there's a lot of mouths to feed around it as well. But with Dontavian Wicks, I'm so enamored by the fact that people just are overlooking this man in drafts right now. And it's like it's like they don't know that he's the alpha. So if you're looking at it like Jordan Love coming off his first year QB5, Jordan Love has already been pumping him up this offseason like the breakout is here. Like I already knew that, but he's just letting everyone else know that doesn't know that Dontavian Wicks is coming this season. And that was Jordan Love's first year in LaFleur's system. This is his second year. They're now entrenched. They're entrenched together. Wicks came in last year as a rookie. This can be a dynamic duo that you're going to be paying attention to for the next 4 to 5 years that I absolutely love smashing this value on. I mean, this is a round 14, round 13 pick, right? I'm willing to take him round 11, round 10. That's how high I am on Dontavian Wicks this season. I firmly believe the breakout is here. I know it's a very, very deep call, and it's going to be a hard start for you in fantasy, but I promise you, you're going to be mad at yourself if you do not draft Dontavian Wicks this season. Thanks for listening, guys. That is the end of episode 7 of my top 10 league winners. Tomorrow, I will be doing episode 8. I'm going to have 3 guests on my show. I'm going to have Michael Ripe, a big-time fantasy football analyst, PPR Fantasy Tips, one of my favorite content creators, and the Big Draft Energy Disco will be in the building, and we will be going over agree, disagree players. It's going to be awesome content. It's going to be unhinged. Everyone's going to be arguing. I'm going to have a gavel. I'm going to smash the table. So you can check us out live on YouTube. sleezballff is my name everywhere across every single platform. Sleazeball Fantasy Football. This is my Mind as a Weapon fantasy football podcast show. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, smash that follow, smash that subscription. This is the beginning of a long, long tenure here. And I love you guys to be on this ride with me as I try and bring you the best fantasy football content to help you win your leagues. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, man.